Dobre, takže ideme na to. Môžem skontovať zvukový stĺp, budeme skontovať zvukový stĺpera ako prvé. Čo to spraví? Ako sa tá situácia vykryštalizuje. On to oficiálne spustím. Dobre, takže ideme na to. Takže môžem to oficiálne spustiť. Takže... Začíname 827. Začíname 827. relaxačný tréningový deň, je pondelok 23.2.2026. Začíname takisto klikožrutý 100, 90, 80, 70, 60 kliksterov. Začíname 19.54. Piče sa má 18.54, každého podľa gustého svastiky. My máme 19.54. Prvá séria 100 klikožrutov, 100 kliksterov, púšťa baránka ako podmas.
No tak poďme urobiť všetko preto, aby Slovensko, aspoň v rámci strednej Európy, nebolo skanzenom. A ak to nepôjde inak, ak sa ju nerozpadne, jediná cesta je odchod z Európskej únie. To treba povedať jasne. O Severoatlantickej aliancii nemusím hovoriť, tá sa rozpadáva sama. A toto je dnes jedno z hlavných tém zdravého rozumu kresťanského a konzervatívneho hnutia. Nie kvôli tomu, aby sme stále boli v opozícii, ale kvôli blahu Slovenska a jeho obyvateľov, Slovákov, Maďarov, Nemcov, Židov a ja neviem koho, Ukrajincov, ktorí tu žijú. To musíme pre dobro obyvateľov Slovenska urobiť. A je zločin tieto veci nehovoriť a ešte väčší zločin je trvať na tom. Však si len prerátajme kolaterálne úmrtia na zníženie životnej úrovne, zhoršenie zdravotnej starostlivosti. Čo nám dnes prináša Európska únia? A to sú ľudské životy. To nie je, že zomrel mi sused. To sú ľudské životy všetko. Energetická chudoba. Ľudia si nevedia predstaviť, čo to je, až kým na to nepríde, že sa rozhoduje, či zaplatí faktúru za elektriku alebo lekáreň. A to sa dnes nie je na Slovensku. A to sa nemuselo diať na Slovensku. Ale my potrebujeme suverénnu vládu, nie takú, akú máme dnes, ktorá musí lavírovať, lebo čaká peniaze z EÚ, lebo je tam hlas, lebo sú tam iní oportunisti. Potrebujeme suverénnu vládu, ktorá začne hovoriť pravdu.
Vyhala Kanada alebo USA.
Pravda je tá, že EÚ nás stáva do priepasti, z ktorej sa nevyškrabeme. Pravda je taká, že musíme odtiaľ odísť. Pravda je taká, že potrebujeme suverenitu. Pravda je taká, že sa musíme vrátiť k sebestačnosti tam, kde je to možné vrátanie energetiky. Pravda je taká, že vyrábame lacnú elektrínu a kupujeme ju draho, ako obyvatelia, ako občania. Ale pravda je taká, že toto je prejav kolonializmu. Lacno tu exploatuje niekto zdroje a domáce obyvateľstvo ich nakupuje draho. Čo iné to je ako kolonializmus? Čo iné sme ako kolónia? A je pravda, že to je zlé? Je. Je pravda, že to treba zmeniť? Je. No tak to zmeňme. Ale sami to nezmeníme, nás je málo. Sme ochotní, schopní to zmeniť len s podporou obyvateľstva. A preto celé obyvateľstvo aby sa zamyslelo nad tým, čo hovorím, aby sa zamyslelo nad tým, kto im hovorí pravdu, kto je oportunista, kto im klame a následne podľa toho sa rozhodoval vo voľbách. Ďakujem.
Zase jak klikožrutov. Zase jak klikstové za nami.
Some big balance changes have just been announced for the Korean server version of the game. This will very likely come to us this following Thursday. They are massively increasing the cooldown on some support skills, making some skill reworks, and rebalancing how much boosts they provide. This affects Sword and Shield, Greatsword, Dagger, Longbow, Staff, Wand, Spear, and even the Orb. They will also actually be addressing the Tevent Orb stacking issue and adding a Calanthea trait selection box. They're also revamping the Tower of Greed rewards and adding a bunch of extra quality of life. They're also adding a new Double Up Archboss event. So let's go through everything we know so far. Again, the update releases on the Korean server. This will be for tomorrow. But following this Thursday, we'll most likely get the global patch. We can first see here a bit of a dev comment where they say they've been closely examining the recent combat environment and feel some protective skills have greatly increased the sustain of tanks and healers, and they notice that the downtime is getting shorter and shorter, which is having a significant impact on the combat landscape. So with these protective skills being maintained at a high frequency, this has ultimately disrupted the intended flow of attack and defense. So they're making a bunch of adjustments. They say that these adjustments aren't just about lowering numbers, but making it so you're going to have to strategically decide when you're actually going to use this skill when it is the most important thing. And we can see evidence of this when we look at the Sword and Shield and Counter Barrier. You can already see they've gone from a cooldown of 21 seconds to 45 seconds, more than doubling it. However, they did increase the effect duration by 2 seconds. So it will last a little bit longer, but you will no longer be able to use it as often. For example, I have 9.5 seconds here cooldown, and even with this thing only lasting 6 seconds, I get my buff duration upwards of 80%, and I have 100% uptime on this ability. Combine that with this passive from Sword and Shield, which is also getting reworked, you could easily sustain 100% uptime on these defensive skills. And these are some massive boosts in terms of shield block chance, which results in all those CC effects missing, along with significantly reduced incoming damage. On top of that, you have the ability to reflect damage. But they're also addressing reworking this thing a bit, which provides a ton of cooldown to your abilities whenever you use a collision skill, of which you have quite a few, especially when you pair it with another weapon which has a lot of collision, along with using the multi-target chain hook collision. So we can see what they've done. They're limiting the certain skills that can actually benefit from this cooldown. So only attack, control, and movement skills, no longer survivability skills, will be affected by this passive, meaning it won't affect Counter Barrier anymore. It won't affect your Bastion or your Immortal Pride. And then there are other weapons which have very highly effective survival and tactics skills, which now your moral boost will also no longer affect. So this is some huge balance changing in terms of tanks right there. They will have to think tactfully when they're actually going to use these abilities rather than just being able to spam them non-stop. They are also nerfing the amount of mana recovery that you get for blocking attacks. Now instead of 36%, you only get 7.2%. But this is the mana recovery values for players. For monsters, it should still be the same as before. Onto the Greatsword here. They're actually removing that reduction to the heal received effect from Guillotine Blade. I guess this could be in a way so that tanks aren't contributing to a lot more damage, but it also could be as a result, tanks will now be a bit more squishy because they won't have 100% uptime on these survivability skills anymore. Similarly, posledná 5. séria, 60 klikov žltou, 60 klik also removing that effect which reduces the incoming healing. Just straight up removed. These changes could be done, so basically, yeah, tanks will probably need a bit more healing after this change, but also other players in general. If you look at Seeker with the heal over times, they've just been feeling quite useless. This could be a result of too many of these healing reduction effects going around, so they seem to be deciding to remove them. This should increase Seeker's viability a bit more. The Stamp of Death, the skill has been changed to ignore the target's shield defense probability. I think that's Fatal Stigma. You mark them and now the tank can no longer shield block that damage. In terms of longbow,
je to za nami. Je to za nami. Rekapitulujeme to. 827. 827. relaxačný tréningový deň za nami bol 23.2.2026, skončili sme 20.04. Piču som o 19.04, každého podľa gusta, podľa svastiky. My sme skončili 20.04, segment trval 11 minút a 30 sekúnd. Dlhší čas, ale stáva sa 11.30.